I accidentally knit a dishcloth and it's just too good not to share it with you. Hi, my name is Bas and in this video I'm going to show you how I did it. I was just playing around with the 4-color changer on my knitting machine. I was making some swatches and this one swatch was just perfect for a dishcloth, so I had to share it with you. Let me show you how I did it. This is the book that came with my knitting machine, the Passap Duomatic 80. And it has all kinds of stitches and stitch patterns. And I was playing around and one of the patterns I tried was this one. And it resulted in, I also tried other things, and it resulted in this fabric. And the cool thing is that it has a lot of texture to it. All the colored bumps are on top of the white. So I thought this could make a perfect dishcloth. I selected some cotton acrylic yarns. You don't want to use stuff like wool for a dishcloth, but acrylic works fine, cotton works fine, and I chose these colors. So how do you knit it? For my swatch I used a stitch size of 4 on my machine and I get a gauge on a 10 by 10 centimeter square. I get a gauge of 27 stitches by 103 rows. This is my gauge. And let's be honest, it's a dishcloth, so it doesn't have to be really precise. So I want my dishcloth to measure about 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. And I like this sample with the white border on the bottom. So that's what I'm also going to do for my final dishcloth. A white border on the bottom and a white border on the top. And in the middle there is the pattern. Well, you get the idea. This should look like this. So how do you calculate it? Quite easy. I have my gauge and I have my desired measurements. So 20 centimeters equals approximately 54 stitches. And I want this 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, and that equals 10 rows in white, 10 rows in white. And in between I have 166 rows in the pattern. Fairly straightforward. Let's get behind the machine. Okay, so first I'm going to set my needle beds in full pitch. So I'm turning the racking handle half a turn counterclockwise. Now my beds are exactly opposite of each other. And I need to select 54 stitches, which is 27 to the left of 0 and 27 to the right of 0, and all needles in between. Same on the back bed. Placing the edge springs on the outer needles, making sure that the latches are closed. Now I'm racking my bed half a turn clockwise. So the rightmost needle is on the back bed. I'm going to set my front lock on N for normal knitting, stitch size 1.5. Same on the back lock, N for normal knitting, stitch size 1.5. Because it's double bed knitting, I'm going to add the orange strippers. Now I'm going to pick up the main color yarn. It's white and I've threaded it in the first eyelet, so I'm selecting the first eyelet and I'm picking up my yarn. Now my main color yarn is picked up and I'm going to knit the first zigzag row. Now I'm going to set my locks for circular knitting, and that's C, X, stitch size 3.25. Same for the back lock, CX, stitch size 3.25. And now I'm going to knit 2 rows and that equals 1 round of circular knitting. Now I'm going to set the front lock on N for normal knitting and I increase the stitch size to 4. Same on the back lock, N for normal knitting, stitch size on 4. And now the final row to cast on. The cast on is complete, so now I can knit my rows for the dishcloth. So I'm resetting the row counter and I'm going to knit 10 rows in white. Okay, so now we start with the actual pattern. And the booklet explains it really clear. You need the orange strippers, check. The racking handle is in the lower position, check. This is the setting for needles and the needle pushers. So all my needles are already selected. I only have to add the needle pushers. And for every needle that is in work, I'm adding a needle pusher. And I have to set them 2 by 2. So 2 in work, 2 pushers out of work, 2 pushers in work, 2 pushers out of work. So the first 2 I'll leave out of work. Then the next 2 I'll push in work, out of work, in work, out of work, in work, etc. Same on the back bed, only the pushers are exactly opposite. So where the pushers on the front bed are in work, then on the back bed they're out of work. So the first 2 pushers will go in work, then 2 out of work, in work, out of work, in work, etc. Now we're all ready to go, so I'm going to knit 2 rows in the main color, color 1 in white, with the lock settings to N for normal knitting on both sides. I'm also going to press the left arrow keys on both the front and the back lock, and this will switch the pushers for the next row. And then I'm going to knit 6 rows in the first contrast color on BX, so it will use the needle pushers, so it will knit 2 needles, skip 2 needles, knit 2 needles, skip 2 needles. Main color again, second contrast color, main color again, third contrast color. And you go over and over until you're at the desired number of rows. So the first 2 rows are set to N, and I need to press the left arrow key. Same on the back lock, it's set to N and I need to press the left arrow key. And I'm resetting the row counter. Now knit 2 rows in main color white. Now all pushers are neatly aligned and set up for the first colored row. Now release the arrow key, so press the 0 and set my locks for BX. BX. Now they will knit with the needle pushers. Same on the back lock. Release the arrow key, so press the 0. Now they're all released and switch to BX. BX. Pick up the first contrast color yarn, so I'm selecting my first color. I'm picking up the yarn and now I have to knit 6 rows. Switch back to N for normal knitting, press the left arrow key. Same on the back lock, N for normal knitting, press the left arrow key. Pick up the main color again, so white, and knit 2 rows. So all needle pushers now have switched position, so for the next color they will knit in between. Set the locks to knit with the color again, so BX, and release the arrow key. Same for the back lock, BX to knit with the needle pushers, release the arrow key. Pick up the second contrast color and knit 6 rows. Now I'm going to knit with the main color again, and for normal knitting, left arrow key. Same for the back lock, N, left arrow key. Now we're going to knit with the third contrast color, B, X, release the arrow key. Same for the back lock, BX, release the arrow key. And you endlessly repeat this until you knit the desired number of rows. So 2 rows of main colored yarn with the arrow key to the left, and then 6 rows on BX to knit with the needle pushers in contrast yarn, and on and on and on. Now I'm going to knit my final row, and I'm going to knit it on a higher stitch size 7. Stays on normal knitting, so my stitches will become a lot larger, so I can do a double bed ledge hook bind off. Same on the back look, normal knitting, increase the stitch size to 7. So I have all large stitches now. I'm lowering the front bed, and I'm going to do a double bed ledge hook bind off. So I'm sticking in the first stitch and in the second, and I am pulling the second stitch through the first. On the back bed, pulling it through, on the front bed, pulling it through. Back bed, front bed, back bed, front bed. And every time I'm making sure that the ledge catches only the stitch I'm going to pull through. Now pull the yarn through the final stitch, cut the yarn and take the knitting from the machine. And here is our dishcloth. Now weave in the ends and it's finished. So I'm going to weave in the ends. I have a needle and a pair of scissors. And I'm just going to stick the thread away into the dishcloth. And here is the finished dishcloth. The same on both sides. It has really a great texture, so that's why I thought of it as a dishcloth. It's a cotton acrylic mix, so it will hold up very well in use. Another finished project, which I think is very cool. Okay, it's just a dishcloth, but it only uses up a little bit of yarn. It's very practical to use. I even think I'm going to make a few more. You can make them, of course, in any color you have. So I chose white, green and blue, but I'm sure you'll come up with a lot of colorful combinations. I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, please leave a like. That helps out the channel a lot. I wish you happy knitting and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!